So being able to bend your horse in both directions is a really important thing. Most horses will bend better in one direction than the other. About 80% of horses prefer to bend to the left than they do to the right. So if you get yourself into trouble and you can bend your horse to the left, well, you can get out of trouble by disengaging the horse, by making him move his hindquarters to the right as you bend into the left, breaking the alignment of his spine. That takes away his ability to fight. For him to fight you, for him to buck, to rear, to bolt, to run backwards, he needs to straighten his spine. So if you can get him to bend his spine on conditioned reflex, you can make yourself safe by being able to deal with any of those dangerous situations. Now, because horses generally want to bend in one direction and not bend in the other direction, we've got one escape plan, and that's to their favoured side. But we really need to be able to make sure that the horse can bend well in both directions, because you may not be in a situation where you can bend a horse to the left. You may need to bend him to the right, and the right may be the direction that he doesn't want to go. And if you try to ask a horse to bend in the direction that he doesn't want to go, if he hasn't been trained to bend, there's every likelihood he'll go up. So it's important that we teach the horse to bend very, very quickly and in a conditioned way, conditioned reflex way in both directions, so that we can get that horse to disengage his hindquarters. And as we work with the horse, we're going to get that horse to step across underneath himself with his inside hind leg, get him to bend around calmly in both directions through the neck, and make sure that we're able to do that at the drop of a hat, so that we've got clear opportunity to save ourselves if we get into a dangerous situation. So not only is disengagement a safety mechanism, I see it as the first steps in teaching the horse to respond to your leg. If I touch the horse down low on his leg and he moves across for me, I've had a forward movement from that horse. Now I'm gradually going to refine that forward movement until it comes up the horse's back leg, to his rump, and eventually touches exactly where I'd like to have my leg be. So when I actually get on and ride the horse and place my leg in the correct position, I get the correct response from the horse. We're going to gradually refine that until we get exactly what we need from our leg while we're sitting on the horse. So though we start on the ground with teaching the horse to disengage and it becomes his forward leg aid, we need to be able to do this from on the horse's back. But it's much safer to achieve this on the ground before we start to try and achieve it when we're on the horse's back.
Ben, Blay and Kate Roots have competed at the highest level of eventing and show jumping in Australia, both having learned from equestrian legend Vicky Roycroft. Ben is also a trainer in his own right, and both excel at rehabilitating thoroughbreds from injuries on the track and getting them ready for a new life of competition. Tell me a bit about your background. Your father's obviously a trainer, but you've developed a lot of experience through working with some great people, not just in the racing industry, but the equestrian side too.
My background is mainly show jumping. Straight out of school to Vicky Roycroft, and yeah, it was the school of hard knocks there. Yeah, I spent a good 5 years there, and she sent me off for a year to France to a jumping stable. And yeah, we got a lot of experience from going around the jumping traps. Then I've gone to Todd Howlett. I'm a track work rider there. I can ask him anything I want about you know, racehorses, and he's been very kind with his time and generous and helping me move forward in the racing industry.
Do you see a big difference? I mean, I sort of see it, you know, between what the racing people in thoroughbred, whether it be trainers or, you know, anyone involved with the thoroughbred, and the equestrian world actually knows about how to look after a thoroughbred.
Yeah, I guess, you know, the first thing we do when we're going to our show jumpers is, you know, are their legs okay? Are they healthy? It's all about, it's very one-on-one with the horse. We see every part of it all the time, and yeah, is it sound, you know? And I think bringing that over to the racing game, I think is a bit of a game changer.
So as far as within racing, I mean, you know, a lot of these horses are, you know, they're trained so that they can have the life after racing, and a lot of, you know, there's regular trot-ups with the vets and so forth. But, you know, it is, you know, a pretty high impact sort of sport really for the horses. They are elite athletes. So there are injuries, obviously, that will come from that.
I guess to prevent those sort of injuries, you'd rather have a strong horse to start with. And I think building up the horse slowly and gradually, doing flat work exercises, even with racehorses, I think that's a real benefit to the racehorse going forward.
A lot of the injuries, you know, there'd be leg injuries. So what would you say to some of the people in the racing industry about not just the flat work, but actually managing if you see an injury somewhere? It's often something that's related to something else, isn't it?
The injury is usually from the horse overcompensating from an injury elsewhere. You know, has it got a injury in its front left leg? Maybe the right hind is injured already, and we're so transfixed on looking at the front, we're missing the injury behind. And a lot of the time, if you fix behind, you'll fix in front, because the horse stops overcompensating with its front legs, and the RSI injury corrects itself.
When you get a horse that's off the track that might be a horse such as Magic Choir, what's the whole process you go through to get that horse back to being able to be, you know, ridden at whatever level, I guess, you want to ride off the track?
So we basically got Magic Choir directly from the trainer, and he'd just been diagnosed with his suspensory branch injury. We work out the rehab program with the vet, which will lead us to our plan for the next 6 months with Choir. Generally we'll do nerve blocks, so we'll start from the pastern. Is he lame in the foot? No. We'll go a little higher. Is he lame in the fetlock? No. Is he lame from the knee? Okay, there we got it. There we have it. He's lame between the fetlock and the knee. We're going to have a scan there, so we'll scan his leg. The vet will scan his leg. He'll use a small ultrasound machine to look into the leg and look for any injuries or abnormalities. So with Choir's leg, with his suspensory branch injury, we can see on the leg that there's an inflammation. So that's a big flashing light for where the vet's going to look. So he's looking into the suspensory branch with his ultrasound machine and looking on the machine for any black spots. And those black spots are core lesions, and he can measure against the size of the core lesion compared to the rest of the ligament to work out the extent of the injury. So basically the suspensory is just in front of the tendon. It's the ligament that helps with stability of the hoof. He sustained an injury on the branch, which is the lower end of the suspensory, and it was the inside branch, so it was the around about here. The suspensory splits into two parts, and he's injured the left-hand side.
What function does it have within that whole area?
So basically it's like the stabiliser of the leg. It's sort of keeping the leg stable from left to right, compared to the tendon, which is sort of the longitudinal balance. The suspensory is more sort of the lateral balance.
So then once you know what the injury is, it's a long, slow road to recovery, isn't it? And a lot of patience required.
It sure is. So basically from that injury diagnosis, we work out a plan. Every rehab program will be different for the different injury, but basically with Choir, box rest, we walk him for 6 weeks, and we start off with hand walking for 5 minutes per day. So you can imagine he's 23 hours in the box and 5 minutes walking. So we only start off with a small bit of hand walking, and every second week we'll build up to a little more hand walking. So start with 5 minutes, move to 10 minutes. At week 6 we're at 15 minutes. At week 8 we're at 20 minutes walking.
So then when can you get back on a horse that's had an injury such as that? What are the next steps in actually training to make sure that you're not putting pressure on the injury?
With our vet, we decided that at the 15-minute mark, Choir would be strong enough to take a rider From then, Kate will take him. From then on, she'll start walking him under saddle.
So then the work that we're seeing here today, you know, it's going over the poles, but you're not trying to really push him to be stretching out over those poles, are you? You need him to be, it's just more a bit of concentration and just the movement to build up the muscle, I guess.
I think it's important to note that we're 5 months post-injury, and you can see how gentle and slow we're going with him. We're taking it very slow, and he's got to build up the required core strength.
And then trotting up the hill, I mean, that's another thing, obviously taking pressure off the front legs.
By trotting up the hill, you're taking pressure off the front legs and you're using the hindquarter more, and especially through the back. So we're taking pressure off the injury to be able to work his whole body. That will lead to a better, stronger horse. So we're looking to treat the whole horse.
And what would you say to racing owners? I mean, it is expensive. If you want to rehabilitate a horse, you know, a lot of these horses, particularly the ones that have won a lot of prize money, but it's so worth it, isn't it? Because you get so much joy. And as an owner, I know watching horses going on, you get so much joy in seeing them be rehabilitated and get back to full fitness. But it is reasonably expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is quite expensive. Just looking at the initial diagnosis for the vet and the lameness inspection, we're looking at about $500. And then to rehabilitate the horse, it depends if you're asking a professional to do it or you're doing it yourself. Professionals looking at, you know, similar to a pre-training fee, like, you know, it could range from $50 to $100 a day. When we're treating the whole horse, we're looking at maybe a chiropractor coming in or a massage therapist. Here we use a chiropractor and an acupuncturist a lot, so that's looking at $100 a pop. I guess the old ways was put it in the paddock for 6 months, then go and check it. These days, vets are saying dynamic rehabilitation is the way to go. You're applying a stimulus to the horse, and the horse's body is reacting by getting stronger. That's why we do these pole exercises, to get those little muscles that, you know, that are not going to be activated by just walking around. The horse has to actually reach up and use those muscles and use its core, and that's going to help for stability later down the road.
Kate, it's fabulous to see Rocket Cod. We've seen Magic Choir, but this is what you're looking, I guess, yourself and Ben, to have Magic Choir like, you know, in a period of time once he's fully rehabilitated.
Yeah, that would be the aim. I think with a suspensory injury, he'll probably not jump quite as big as Rocket Cod, but yeah, just the general being able to go to shows and do a bit with Choir would be great. I think he'll probably be a dressage horse, but it would be nice to get him doing low-level jumping.
And you've seen a lot of these horses that are coming through. I guess, you know, it really is sometimes, you know, within smaller stables, there needs to be the knowledge about how to really look after these horses and make sure that, you know, as Ben was saying, you're looking after the whole of the horse when they're in training and as they're coming out of racing.
Yeah, definitely. I think you see most stables, they trot the horses up, they're really on the job for any injuries, they're catching things early, they've got vets there all the time. And I think owners can also make sure maybe if your horse isn't going so well, they can sort of have a little bit of input and go, are they getting trotted up? Are they getting better tension? Is it an injury that's causing them to not go so good? And maybe they can then sort of not assist the trainer, but sort of push for the horse to be getting looked at more often.
And with Rocket Cod himself, I mean, you sort of were taking him on to kind of, you know, rehome him, but this is what I see a lot of. You've actually fallen in love with him yourself.
Yeah, so we got him off Ben's dad after he did jump off, and we were supposed to rehome him, find him a lovely family, and then I sort of rode him a few times, did a bit of jumping, and may or may not have fallen in love with him. And so yeah, now he's mine. Jim's not getting him back, and yeah, it would have to be the perfect home for me to part with him. I'm pretty smitten. He's a very cool horse.
A really special couple and achieving so much with Thoroughbreds off the track. Coming up on Thoroughbreds Are Go, Arrowfield Studs Strappers Stories.